Good morning, good afternoon, okay, everyone. Really excited, to be here for this wonderful Lightning Talks conference from the wonderful community of Tequila. As Anand Bagmar set the tone with Apply tools and AI and stuff like that. He also mentioned about time is essence. So I'm going to set up my timer over here for 18 minutes and begin my presentation. Thank you very much. Let's get started on this, right? Um, okay, fantastic. Um, I'm just going to set a few things over here. Defragmenting AI in testing law. Lovely, right? Um, should I move this a little bit here somewhere? Okay. So, in the age of AI, one of the things that is bothering me, because I care a lot about people all around the testers, the testing community, and everybody, is that there is a tremendous amount of information. There's tremendous amount of rapid deployments, developments that is happening in AI, which is overloading our brains. We have consumed so much more content about AI in our life. Um, we would have not consumed so much information about anything else in such a short period of time in the past of our lives. So AI is not just a very big technological revolution. AI is a very big overload on our thought processes, our memory systems, our brain. And if we are trying to learn something and it's overloading our brain, it's a big, big problem. So for me, the inspiration to come up with this talk is by having observed a lot of people, learning a lot of things about AI, and yet being very clueless or very fearful about what's going to happen with AI. And there are so many different philosophies different people are bringing in even in the testing space, right? So let's say Apply Tools has one sort of a philosophy. Other companies have different sort of philosophies, and there is a nice philosophical thought process and clashes and sort of different approaches being bombarded on a lot of testers out there. So the key essence right now for all of us is to defragment our mind, right? So so we have been overloading ourselves by trying to immerse ourselves. So if you open LinkedIn, if you open Product Hunt, if you open Reddit, if you open any of the forums or even the news media channels, they're continuously bombarding us about things that concerns us because there's a lot of conflicting information as well. Now, one day we wake up, we see that Claude Cowork is just going to disrupt. One day we wake up, and then Jack Dorsey says, "I'm letting go 5,000 people." So all of this is causing a certain level of stress, certain level of anxiety, certain level of fear. How do you think a person, a human, a life can learn when there is a constant anxiety and constant stress and constant conflicting information and constant new developments, and whatever we thought yesterday was relevant is not relevant? So, uh, so in that fear, in that FOMO, we are overloading ourselves quite a lot. And I see patterns of this on people posting certain things on LinkedIn and in certain other places. So there is a ton load of overloading, and what I feel is that I feel even if their brain, if their hard disk defragments, it'll still look as bad as it was when it was fragmented. So it's not going to make a big difference if we learn with all of that stuff. So to me, what I realized of why this is happening is that our learning is quite scattered. We learn something today. Now, if you go back to our school time, right? We did not have, at least I'm talking about, I'm a 1980s kid, probably up until 1990s and early 2000. We had books as a key source, which is good, and then came internet, and then came smartphones. But what kept happening is that learning became quite random. Now if you take this conference for example, right? There are so many diverse topics. Somebody is talking about MCP servers, somebody's talking about how you can apply, somebody's talking about how you can build. So this is all quite a scattered set of learning, and you don't know how your brain is actually storing this information for you to be able to bring this to a good use, right? So to me, the number one problem that a lot of us are going through because of whatever is happening is that our learning is getting scattered. And that's one of the reasons why we're not able to effectively bring what we have successfully learned in our past into applying things in our world. Because one of the other big realizations I had in my career is that we have learned a lot, but our ability to implement that is very significantly lower than what we have learned. So if you look at your resume, if you look at your profile, you would have written so many things in there. But in terms of your sort of ability to apply, you could probably apply two or three things of what you mentioned in your resume. I understand you need to get shortlisted by the AI system that has to shortlist you based on keywords and all of that stuff. But when we look at applying that, there are only a few things that we can apply. And I think that's a problem statement, because when we can apply three things and we know 300 things, our brain hard disk gets clogged, bad sectors get created. And this is where smart people tend to fail. I have always been fascinated about why do smart people fail, and for me, I just want to remind everybody of what Jerry Weinberg said. Jerry Weinberg in his website said, "I'm here to make smart people happy." And I was like, why would a smart person need you, Mr. Jerry, to make themselves happy? Because they're smart. Aren't they supposed to be happy by themselves? And interacting with Jerry Weinberg is when I discovered that smart people can overcook themselves, right? And later I did overcook myself, and I saw that many other smart people were overcooking themselves. And at some point they're too overcooked and they get into a smart hard disk error in their mind. So for me, if a non-smart person fails, I don't spend too much time on it. But if a smart person fails, I feel sad for them, because they put in a lot of hard work, to bring the level of smartness. And each one of you attending this conference is trying to put in the hard work required on a Saturday to make yourself smarter. And I want you all to succeed. So the good news and bad news. The good news is that so far you've been performing great. But as you are growing in your experience, your disk is getting more and more information. And if you have not had a structure to segregate it, it's going to come back and affect you. So learning without a structure is going to create this bad effect where even if you try to restructure your learning, you still can't bring it into application. So, but if we had a structure to learn AI, and why I'm specifically saying AI is because of the quantum of information that's being fed to us on a daily basis, we will be in a better spot for us to be able to apply AI. So today, so many people know so many things about AI, but the level to which they can apply is very limited. So I would love to see more people have a structured approach to learning AI, in testing especially, because hey, we are a highly bias-driven, emotional-driven community because we are passionate about a lot of things, and there you still see you still see people debating over ancient approaches of which is right and which is wrong. So I would love to see a structure of from people, and I want to share my structure, okay, with you all that I believe reduces the fragmentation, right? So again, going back to how disks were partitioned, the first thing that people would do is to partition the disk, partition the file systems, partition how much space they want to allocate. This is going to be super critical. If you are trying to learn different things about AI without having created partitions, without saying how much allocation I want to give for each one of them, you are going to overload some information, which is going to conflict with other information, which is the reason why you're not able to bring that into practice. So I always do this. So somehow I've got it, which is I've become conscious of how I'm able to learn a certain thing and just stay away from certain information. That's the true power. So if you, let's say, allocate so if you allocate only 100 kilobytes for something which is not useful to you, you're not going to overload that because it's going to say, oh, there's only 0% available for you to overload, that, and you will not be able to load it. But if you, let's say, keep it open and free, it's going to conflict. So my disk partitions, this is very conscious effort, that I've done, is to say that there are some things about building using AI. There's something about applying what others have built, and then I've also created, the structure about saying, hey, this information is interesting. So whenever I go through something on the internet, it's interesting but not relevant to me right now because I have a clarity of what I want to do, and a lot of it is hype. Yes. When somebody like Jack Dorsey is tweeting saying, oh, by the way, I let go so many people, it is real, but there is still a lot of hype because I think they might rehire the people in just a few months, and this has happened traditionally. So don't just go by what these top business people are saying. This is their game. This is how they play their game. So to me, the way I look at it, it's just hype. And then there is a lot of marketing claims about a lot of people. One of the things that I see as an excitement about AI is that people want, people get a result and say, whoa, look at this. I can now change the world with this. That's a marketing claim. Unless they change the world, it's a marketing claim, right? So for me, I'm like, okay, I segment some part of it to marketing claims. And some things that I learned, I was like, oh, this is experiment worthy, but I have to make it, put it into experiment. And the rest is just clickbaits and junk and stuff like that. Now I have very limited. I love them. It's interesting, but it's not useful. So I'm like, I categorize them to clickbait and junk, and I give only 100 kilobytes. It's like Instagram reels that I only watch during weekends. I don't give that much of a time for it during the whole week. I actually uninstall the app and install the app only during weekends because in my mind, the partition for Instagram Reels is very limited. So that way there's a clickbait, there's junk, and that is necessary in our lives, but not so much. Now, I want to be an expert at applying AI, right? And the way my sub-partitions about applying AI works is that I hypothesize, I partner with the builders. I work with AI engineers. I don't build something on my own, but I take whatever they build and try to apply and give them feedback. And I don't get carried away by the results. You know what? That's one of the important, factors. And then the other thing about AI in, testing, right? The first 3 sprints, something works great. The 4th sprint, it fails. So I say that I have to run long haul tests before I conclude that this works or this does not work because, hey, I'm a tester and I've seen things that works break and the things that break work. And of course, as a tester, I am going to find limitations of it. So when I'm excited, I say, okay, under what conditions is this going to fail? And then I, of course, watch a lot of demos. I write to founders, I write to other companies, and I say, please give me a demo. I'm a student. I want to learn. And that's a fantastic way for me to see how people are applying AI. And then when I look at other products, other implementations, I look at unique or copy. Many, many posts out there are copies. They're just like, it's like I created my own test case generator. Do you know how many resumes 10 years ago had I created my own automation framework? How many automation frameworks can a company implement? 1, 2 at max, right? So there are thousands of people who did this for hobby and tinkering work, but they could not implement it. Again, there's John. Oh, you want to build? I want to be an application expert. I want to be an AI application expert. I have that clarity in my mind. I'm not allocated a large space to build, but I understand you are engineers. Even I was, and I am an engineer, and I know you all want to build. So the first structure, there's a proposed structure for you is to detach from the hype. The more you see stuff on internet, you will get a lot of hype from it. A lot of news media. So one of the things you want to do is to cut off all the hype. So if you look at what I do in my life, I cut off all the news channels, news media from viewing a lot of stuff, and I have the right sources to learn from. So there are a lot of AI courses already from people who are as good as you sometimes, but they have the bandwidth to create a course. So it's very important for you to identify the right sources of training and people who have really gone deep at it. And then it's important as a builder for you to create a certain value. If everyone is building a test case generator, a playwright script generator using AI, that's not what you should be doing. You should be complementing the world. So it's important for you to focus on a value and go deep on it. And the other important point is to release to the public to test it. The more number of people giving you feedback is what truly makes you a builder. Not just that you built it and you deployed it, you got 70 likes on LinkedIn and you're done. No. And then the other important part is about partnering. Now, all the companies that you see are trying to partner with people because they need feedback. And getting the feedback of what you build is the most important part of it. And the building audience part of it. So if you look at these things, right? If you have allocated your file system, your storage accordingly, you are going to have a cleaner approach to learning. And then it's important, for us to constantly check: have we fragmented too much? Have we defragmented? And constantly, adjust how much allocation you want to give to what. And you understand that there's a limited capacity of you, and you can just delete a few things, and you can create more space for another one. And it's important for us to continue to course correct that, because without that course correction, we might learn and we might feel good about it, but that's it. But that's the end of it. The most valuable part of an engineer is to put things out which helps customers to succeed. And that's what I would love to see this community, do. Otherwise, this is how the disk is going to look. The same one information, one content is going to be spread across so many different places for you to access, for you to bring your memory back. It's going to take a ton load of time. So I think that in this world of social media and AI, it's unavoidable that your disk will constantly get fragmented. But if you have the structure, you know how to defragment it. And that's the way that you can have a clean learning, clean application, clean building, part of it. Now, right? Now, you are in this conference. You're going to be bombarded with a lot of awesome information. But if you do not have this structure right at the start of this conference, it's going to sit, the information people are going to feed is going to sit across many different, parts. So one thing I would suggest for you right now, after my talk, is to come up with a simple structure that you can put for learning things from this conference, from all the future conferences on sort of everything that you're going to learn, from the internet, and put things accordingly and give certain weightage and percentage of how much you want to learn that and how less you want to learn something. And that, I think, will help you make it easy for the defragmentation. Otherwise, you are going to get a hangover and your brain is going to work like you had a hangover. It's like you had a lot of tequila shots and not the tequila shots. So that's with that on a good time. I am done now I'm done for now, La. Listen to others now, La. Remember the structure, La. Make your life easy, La. And I'm happy to connect with you all on LinkedIn and other places and try to help you all in whatever ways. But I just want to tell you that my life right now and for the last few years has been centered around simplifying things, because as the world is growing more and more, it's getting a lot more complex. So this, I hope, has inspired you to think about how you can simplify your learning, your ability to build and apply things in the world. And I wish you the best and have a fantastic, fantastic time and conference ahead.